Y'all might be wondering, like, well, dang, like all this school stuff you got going on, like, why did you leave? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. Why did I leave? Well, I love to learn. I love to share what I know, but not at the expense of the well-being of others. And that's what teaching in an inner city district has become. They're so focused on test scores. Really, that's the bottom line. Like these test scores really are what give a lot of the schools their funding for various programs. So there's a lot more focus on high achievement academically and less of a focus on social emotional growth, fostering independence, responsibility, and all those things. And I have big questions about that because it's like, yo, if you want students to make the grade, they have to have certain skill sets before they can engage in that independence, you know, that responsibility, that discipline. Those are things that when I was coming up, those are the things that were the focus in the classroom at the elementary age. We were taught that, from kindergarten to second grade, you are learning to read, and then from then on, you're reading to learn. And the other thing about that though is, in that foundational stage, you're also building up those skills to sustain your learning. It's not easy to do that when you're being bombarded with all of this developmentally inappropriate material. No one's going to get left behind if they're not reading these books by 5 years old. They're just not. Okay? Take a deep breath. So that's one reason why I left. I have many. I probably have 33, but I only listed about three here. So why else did I leave? It became more difficult for me to honor my own bodily needs, y'all. Personal self care was going down the tubes, and my mental health was. It wasn't shattering, but it was not. I was not in a good place, and my moral code was, being put into question for me to have to also serve as the employee for that organization. And I get advice from the OGs, and they're like, Lou. That's what they call me in school. Y'all saw that. They call me Miss Lou. They're like, Lou, you gotta just put on a different mask when you here, and then take that mask off when you go home, and then be who you are. And then when you come home, you put on the other thing, and you just do what you gotta do, and then you leave, and then you go be who you are. And I'm like, yeah, I feel you, and I see how some people can do that, and I see how that might be an easy thing to do in other professions, but the way that my energy is set up, I I can't go into a job and behave a certain way against my morals just because it's my livelihood and my check, knowing that it's against my personal moral code, mine, on a very personal level. And I'm gonna pause there so that I want to challenge us all to remember to keep that at the forefront, no matter what. Always keep your own personal moral code at the forefront of what you do. And if you need to check in about what that is, check in. You know what I mean? But it was too much, exactly what Tank just said. It was too much for me to try to balance all that. And when I say my bodily needs, y'all, there were times where I couldn't even use the restroom when I needed to because I could not leave the children unsupervised, and there was not enough staff to help me cover my class while I went. It would more There's more than that. But those are just two things I can highlight about that reason. And ultimately, family school is just not what we think it is. I don't know if it ever was. But when I realized that, that is when the next phase in my mission was clear.